Allow me to introduce Kusile Mtunzi Haradzi, who's a familiar face when it comes to Trialogue, giving us some perspective and, of course, insight and feedback as to how it is that we need to continue supporting and celebrating the non-profit sector of the South African economy. Ladies and gentlemen, please warmly welcome her on stage as she makes her way up, the General Manager of the MTN SA Foundation, Kusile.
We all say so. Can you give another round of applause? I think for me, that was the most powerful inspiration for anyone in the development space. And really, if we don't take those notes and if we don't ask those intelligent questions, we will find ourselves wanting very soon. But I'd like to acknowledge and thank our partners, Trialogue, for giving us the opportunity to be able to continue partnering in this space. It's a space that I think I live for, and my team, we enjoy being in this space because we sometimes ask ourselves, are we still doing the right things? Having said that, I'd like us to look at, have we really began to calibrate? It's been 2 years of virtual conduct. And I don't care where you are from, the color of your skin, your creed, your credentials, your space, and whatever into you, we all suffered COVID. We all came into contact with COVID, and it was real. And I'd like us to first honor our fallen brothers, our sisters and colleagues, and relatives who lost their lives to COVID. I'll invite you all to stand up with me, and we spend a minute of silence to honor those people that passed from COVID. May their souls rest in peace. You know, I'm reminded of this. Last week at MTN, we had a memorial service of our colleagues that passed away. And it was grueling to see pictures of the people that you were sitting next to the desk, talking to every day, doing business with. And I wondered how we survived. And only through the grace of God did I realize that I'm still breathing. We must be thankful, we have to celebrate. Our theme for today is supporting and celebrating the non-profit sector, a sector that is proven formidable. I must say, particularly during the lockdown period, they were everywhere. They were doing what not many people could do. I truly think they call for celebration indeed, because they were, in the most challenging and most difficult of moments, they were there. In our communities, dishing out foods, making sure there is water, doing health screening, and all those things that we required them to make sure that our country is able to deal with COVID the way it was meant to deal with. I think they continue to be the beacon of hope in situations when lives are challenged by a lot of socio-economic factors that we face. It is really a pleasure and privilege for myself particularly and my team from MTN that we continue to support Trialogue as a platform and a beacon that is shining our torch when it comes to CSI in South Africa. We have got a situation where if we do not collectively come together and say, how can we plan? How can we accelerate change? What is it that matters in the development space? No one will listen. But these platforms allow us to get to a point wherein we are all saying, how can we do this better? Again, I want to reiterate, it's about intelligence. It's about doing the right things that are required. It's about staying relevant and truthful to the cause that we're all collectively here for. How can we be better people? How can we change the life? I think the wars in Ukraine, the rolling power cuts, the floods, the climate changes, rampant corruption, ongoing violence, especially against women and children, raising levels of poverty, economic volatility and joblessness. And these are many challenges that we're faced with, but we need to ask the question today, how can we be better to leave a better legacy and a future for our children and their children? That's the question that we need to ask. I'm not going to bore you with the fact that this is what MTN Foundation does, because I think this is not about MTN Foundation. It's about the collective thinking, how to become sustainable as a collective. We've done a lot of many significant things as an organization, but one of the key things that I would like to reiterate is we are at a point wherein we understand that our model of operation is allowing us to say, use partnerships for effectiveness. If there is one thing that we've learned as a team, is without our partners, we are no way, we will not be able to deliver what we're meant to delivering. We also would like to partner with the non-profit space. But as my previous speaker did mention, unfortunately, the non-development space, the non-profit organizations are not intelligent enough to tell us what they are doing differently. They are not selling their story well. You find that as corporates, we stick to those organizations that have proven themselves to have been doing, to show the results that we would buy into. A lot of us go wild and ask for all sorts of things, but we're saying, what is the change that you are looking at? What is the impact that it has had? What society has it changed as a collective? So those are some of the key things that corporates look at. You need to be trusted as an implementer. A lot of these, case in point, last year we funded one of the NPOs, and we are still sitting with the money today because that NPO did not pay taxes, does not have a tax compliance certificate, is not authentic, they don't have an address, they don't have these things. And I'm saying, how do we get to be funding organizations that are not authentic enough? If you want funders or to actually fund you properly, have your house in order from a corporate governance space. Corporate governance is the checkpoint or what they call your rear view mirror. They will make sure that whosoever is governing the organization is able to look at your platform and authenticity of your platform to make sure that you're fundable. We tend to be funding the same people, not because of anything, but because we can see the results, the drive that they are going through. So NPOs, if you really want a funder to look at you, look at what is the funder interested in, and from a point of what change, what social change are they driving, so that you are able to look at the kind of things that are aligned with your business model. There is no point in approaching a funder that does not fund the things that you are looking to fund if they are not in that space. I would fund any corporate or any NPO that has the same ethos as my organization, is driving the same programs as my organization, and we've got a like-mind ethos in delivering to our communities. I think it's very important for organizations to understand that we are all in it together, but whatever we are doing, can it be for the benefit of the community that we serve? I must say that one of the key things that is very important for me is that we want to continue to pledge our support to the sector. We have allegiance to the sector, we want to work together with the sector, and we know that they are a strategic partner. They are the foot soldiers. They work in communities, they are right in the forefront. They collect lots of data, they collect lots of intelligence that they should be using to embed the process that drives the funding. I think they've also got in-depth knowledge of the social ills of our community. They also understand the development environment itself and what actually causes some of the social ills. But what is appropriate, do they have the skills to actually drive it? So maybe one of the key things that we need to be looking at, we need to look at, are we skilled enough to be able to tackle the problems that we are meant to be tackling? Because when you have a problem to solve and people are seeing that you are solving the problem, they will be able to fund you, because that's what drives funding. I think together, we want to serve our communities and would want to do it as a partner, and want to view the various elements as partnerships. I must mention that education remains the core focus area for MTN Foundation. I think I would like to quote Nelson Mandela, who said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. We also think that and we strongly believe that For us to uplift communities, we need to educate our communities. We need to educate our families. We need to educate our children so that we can educate the whole country for a better society. I also want to strongly believe that it can create that sustainability and genuine impact in our interventions. As a result, we have remained very strongly focused in the ITC sector because we believe that ICT and technology itself is an area that can enhance information, intelligence, as well as knowledge for a lot of people. Maybe it's important for me to mention, otherwise I will be fired by my boss. She's sitting right there. On the 21st of October last year, we launched the M10 online school. It's free for all South Africans that have an M10 SIM card. You can log on, access the information. So it's from grade R to grade 12. Curriculum aligned. There are tutor content, there are videos, there are all sorts of things there to embed our children to effectively learn. And if we can get our children to learn effectively, we are really going to build a society that says, are we powerful enough to be able to do that? For me, the non-profit sector has become a strong partner. And we really understand what their capabilities are from a knowledge point and knowledge hub point of view. I think the one thing that is lacking in that space is how do they package their information to convince the funder to be able to say, yes, we can do it together. I think that's the one. I want us to find ways to say, how do we package ourselves as NPOs to say, the funder is going to be able to be interested in my story and what I do. For the last 3 years, as M10, we've been funding the program for social change. I'm also very proud to say we've looked at it and we've seen value in it, and we are going to continue to fund the program for social change. And I was just made aware by my colleague to say there's 1 million up for grabs in that social program for change. So NPOs that are interested, watch the space. The opening entries for 2022 is going to be soon unveiled, and people may apply and be part of that program because it enhances a lot of things that they need to do. But my last parting shot really is to say, future-proofing development for M10, what does it mean? We've sat back and said, for us, what it means is green economies, community participation, youth involvement, technology as an enabler to continued growth. And daily we want to look at our programs. Do they look at those things so that we leave a legacy for our children? Our special programs that we do across the spectrum, particularly when it comes to humanitarian need NPOs to partner with us. We've partnered with NPOs before where we are giving them data, gadgets to look at, to gather information when they were doing statistics gathering, when they were doing health screening and all those things. But that's just the enabler. Let's look at the information that it comes with. What can I do better to succeed? I want to tell you a story before I get out of this space. There is a young lady called Welile Kumete in the Eastern Cape. She is an engineer. When she finished her engineering school at DUT, she found herself pregnant with parents that were farmers that were sitting at home doing nothing much except living on a SASSA grant. And when she realized her life, she tells me that one of the key things that made her look at her life reflectively was, how do I stretch this 350 Rand grant to benefit me, my children, and my community? So she took that 350 grant, went and bought airtime, went onto the handheld and looked for jobs that were 21st century looking at. And she said, I went on and on trying to say, what is it that I can do differently staying in this village? And what she eventually did was she decided to buy seeds. So for her next grant money, she spent the 350 Rand, bought seedlings and seeds to plant at the backyard of her home. So started to investigate things around agronomy, agriculture, and that kind of thing. Within 3-4 months, she was selling her first crop. Eventually, she expanded her program. The next thing, she got a piece of land across from her home, expanded the program. But what she did not realize was people were watching, and then the village head person called her and said, can we give you a bigger piece of land? Because now she was selling to the different villagers, she was selling to the spaza shops and that kind. So they gave her a piece of land. Grew that piece of land and she grew. Eventually there was an organization that actually looked for a farm for her. Now she had 22 tunnels where she was doing agronomy and she was doing horticulture in. But during the floods, most of it went all out. Over and above that, she has become a beacon of hope to a lot of young people because she actually trains other people to do what she has been doing. She has been a success story from a mindset shift, which is what we need to do as a collective. Can we shift our minds to looking at things that are bigger than us so that we can make impact for change? I thank you.